I think the key to being a good editor is to have a great grasp of what your readers are thinking. So I want to prove to you, I've been at this so long that I now know what all of you are thinking. And I'll prove it in 2 minutes. Okay, I want all of you to pick a number 1 to 10 and keep it to yourself. Now, since you're all editors and rather than CPAs, you might want to pick a small number. But pick a number 1 to 10, keep it to yourself. You got it? Multiply that number by 9. All right? This new number you have in mind, take the 2 digits of that number and add it together. If your number was 23, it'd be 5. So take the 2 digits of your number and add them together. Got it? Subtract 5. We're almost done. Take the equivalent letter of the alphabet that matches your number. If it was 2, it'd be B. So think of the equivalent letter of the alphabet that matches your number. Got it? We're almost done. Think of a country that begins with that letter. Lastly, think of the second letter of your country and think of an animal. And just to prove that I know what all of you are thinking, you're all thinking of an elephant from Denmark, aren't you? See? That's kind of a segue to the next speaker.
Segue to our next speaker from Denmark.
What can I say? Denmark.
You can give me just a second until I find the next presentation. I'll let Ellen introduce our speaker. What's it? This? No. What happened to? Where did we?
So we started in 2014.
2014. No.
Okay. We copied. Or maybe you took out the members too fast. No, stay there.
No, here it is. Yeah.
Put in
Presentation.
presentation mode.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Ellen Whitaker. I'm a senior journalism and art major. I'm honored to introduce Jens Henneberg of Denmark. He's Executive Vice President and Editorial Director of Bonnier Corporation. Bonnier Publication is the largest magazine publisher in the Nordic countries with headquarters in Copenhagen. Without further ado, Mr. Jens Henneberg.
Okay, I will kind of start off giving you a little bit of context about where I come from and the company I represent, and then I'll touch upon our largest publication, Science Illustrated, and give you a little bit insight in what kind of digital things we're doing, but also get back to print, and then I'll end up giving a little bit about a perspective as seen from Europe. So Bonnier Group is the leading media group in Scandinavia. It's a family-owned company. It was founded in 1804, so we've been around for a while. It started off with a book called Proof That Napoleon Never Existed, which was a courageous title, but it grew from there and founded a daily newspaper in 1849 in Sweden. As you can see, we're in many areas, and I have to say that we talked a lot about yesterday how challenged the magazine industry are. I was at a strategic seminar in Stockholm last week where our new CEO unveiled his thoughts for the future. And I have to say, it feels safe almost to be in the magazine compared to being in the daily newspaper. And the CEO from that part of our group was very frank that he do not believe that print will exist for her newspapers. So it's all going down. A more striking fact was that actually the CEO of the television see that he is facing big challenges too. The linear television is really going down, so his business model is about to be spoiled. So not many people see that, but I believe it's really coming, that there will be a big challenge for the newspapers. Okay. But as you can see, we have a turnover of $3.9 billion, and we make about $260 million in profit. And one good thing of being a family is that they, even though they like to be rich, can have a modest life, and they have promised our new CEO that whatever we carve out of additional money in the next 2 or 3 years, we can invest them into digital, which I think is a great thing for the family to do. And it's also one good thing not being part of the stock market, where I would believe we had a lot of pressure for the quarterly results. But we also have magazine, and that's where I come from. So we have a unit consisting of 3 companies, Bonnier Publications, as Ellen said, headquarters in Copenhagen, Denmark. We work throughout the Nordic countries. Our specialty, so to speak, is that we translate our magazines into 4 different languages in order to have a bigger reach. There are only 5 million inhabitants in Denmark. It's about twice as many in Mississippi, but still you have the entire United States to reach. So when we add all those 4 countries up, it's only about 22 million people we have as population. We also have Bonnier Tidsskrifter in Stockholm. They do Swedish magazines only, and then we have here in the United States Bonnier Corp. It consists of originally a publisher from Florida, and then we bought some magazines from the Timing Group in 2008, I believe. Not really a good time, I have to say, but they're doing a good job in New York and in Orlando. Among the titles that we publish here in the United States are Popular Science, Field and Street. 2 titles that's been on the market for a long time. Mm-hmm. As I said, our specialty is doing the cross-border magazines, which means that we do the main editing in Copenhagen and kind of complete the magazine about 3 weeks before we go to print. That allows us to send the magazine text to local editors and translators in Stockholm, Oslo, and Helsinki, who translate and read the magazine for their country, and then fill in the text in the layout. We are very strict about the layout. We keep the layout the same. We just make sure that the text can fit in there. All in all, we have about 35 titles in the countries. The biggest one are the cross-border titles, but we also have local editorial offices in Oslo, and we do local titles in Denmark as well. It's more in the fashion and female general interest areas because these titles are difficult to fit into the cross-border model. The biggest group of cross-border magazines is the Knowledge Group, that consists of 3 magazines. The largest one is Science Illustrated, which I can get back to. Then we have a history magazine, which has been tremendously successfully in the last 5 years. And then we have a licensed edition of National Geographic. So we publish the local language edition of National Geographic in our 4 countries. So all in all, it's kind of a great portfolio. That's kind of really the core of our company. This is kind of our new strategy for the Bonnier Magazine Group for the next, or for the Bonnier Publication and the Bonnier Tidsskrifter, the Nordic Magazines companies for the next 3 years. So we, of course, all faces the big challenges. So we try to put it in a positive way for ourselves and for our staff. So we want to see opportunities here. So that's why we call it liberate ourselves from the limitation of paper and frequencies. And that's supported by research among our readers. We really are trusted brands. They can see us as a good source for information in other channels as well. And I think the great thing for us is that we can actually publish on a daily basis. We can come up with relevant stories when something important happens. And that gives a lot of opportunities. I would like to touch on only 2 things from the strategy being here today. I think for us, the core thing is that we are a content company. We are driven by content. That's where we think we can differentiate ourselves from a lot of other people. We're not the best in technology, we're not the best marketers, but we do believe that we are best in content and the way we present content to our audience. And of course, we need to figure out how to use all the new channels in order to improve the engagement and the passion for our readers. We really have to serve the readers. And what this means is that we're entering much more complex operations. And I think you touched upon that as well. It's so difficult. It used to be not simple, publishing in 4 different languages at one time. But now to overcome all these different challenges and make it work, that's a hard thing. And we have to have new talents on board, and we have to re-educate some of our current staff, and we have to let some of them go. Okay. Then I have to say that Europe, and especially Scandinavia, is another world of magazines. First of all, we have about 85% of our revenue from subscriptions. And I think there was some numbers here yesterday talking about here in the United States, it was almost different. The other way around, 80% coming from various kind of advertising sales. So this means basically that we have to serve the readers first. Especially when you look at the other number here. So we charge about $11 a copy, which means that there are big expectations when a new copy of a magazine or new issue of a magazine arrives in the mailbox. We have a special, maybe even an odd system of subscription. Due to the high price, we divide the bill into 9 installments a year, because I mean, if you multiply 18 with 11, you get a huge amount of money. So we split it into 9 billings that come with every second issues, and in that way we have actually been able during the last 10 years to increase the frequency from 12 issues a year to 18 issues a year. That's easy. I wouldn't call it easy, but it has been worked very well for us for a way to really increase the average revenue per user. Okay, so this is Science Illustrated, or in Danish, Illustreret Videnskab. So this is the largest magazine in Scandinavia. It's been around since 1986. It's extremely profitable. It's, as you know, turning 30 this year, and when I kind of added up all the numbers, I figured out that we could have bought 2 Boeing 747 jets and traveled around the world in luxury style together with a far. But we saved the money for the family, so we don't have any jumbos in our company. We publish it ourselves in 5 countries. Besides the Nordic countries, we also publish it in the Netherlands. Besides from the magazine, we do, as everybody else, probably specials. We have done book series that both comes as subscribed books and are made in paperback editions for the trades. And we have an annual yearbook, and we have an iPad replica. We have been very reluctant to invest too much in the iPad. I'll get back to that later. I'll try to give you a little bit of overview of our strategy when it comes to digital by showing to you a little video, a kind of commercial you can say, and it goes like this.
Science Illustrated is published in 15 countries. Science Illustrated is the biggest men's title in Scandinavia. Science Illustrated gets more than 80% of its turnover from subscriptions. Science Illustrated has launched 4 brand new apps exclusively for subscribers. Subscribers wake up to the science news, a purely editorial newsletter. Whenever an earthquake hits, Ebola kills, or lightning strikes, Science News tells you why and how. Whenever you have a couple of minutes to spare, try a game of Daily Brainy, the new science quiz. It's great fun and leaves you loaded with knowledge and fun facts. Hunting animals, launching space rockets, discovering scientific surprises. You'll find it all on Science Illustrated's extensive video site. Just lean back and enjoy the show. Looking for something specific? Try the Science Archive, a complete database of more than 10,000 pages, featuring fully searchable, entertaining facts and amazing photos. Science Illustrated has been a market leader for 30 years. Science Illustrated intends to keep it that way. And therefore, subscribers get more, and more, and more, and more.
Okay, so this gray-haired gentleman is actually our CEO. So the presentation was made for him, and I didn't think he should turn around and show his face to you since he's not present here today. Okay, so let me dig a little bit deeper into the few things you saw there. So you can say that this kind of bundling of digital content, giving it away, not for free, but giving it to subscribers, this is kind of our way to set up a paywall. And the rationale, of course, is that we have a paying relationship with our subscribers. And this really is kind of the sense of that. And we want to change their habits. So it's kind of a Trojan horse that we want to figure out that we can change their ways. So we're not sure. Yesterday we talked a lot about the uncertainty in this business. So we're experimenting. We know that they will change their habits over time. We will do not know exactly how, and we do not know exactly at what pace. Okay, so we think we have to offer them things that make the brand relevant both as a print magazine and as a digital source for information and entertainment. And then we simply have to balance it along the way based on the experience. I do not believe that we have found the right features, the right offers yet. I do believe some of them can live for a long time and will be really the part of the basic for all our titles. But it's about testing something, it's about experimenting, and this is what we're doing here. So everybody knows that video is a big thing for a magazine, and it's easy to make relevance for a smartphone. So it's a nice way to look deeper into. So we took a simple approach here, which so far seems to work very well. And it's again about trying to see, can journalism add extra value to content? Can we curate and make things better? So we have people now spending their work time, it's kind of a pleasant work, to look into YouTube and watch videos and collect the videos and organize them in a way that's relevant for our subscribers. Since most of the material at YouTube is English, we come up with small headlines and description of each video to figure out, would that be something for me? Then we made, we believe, a simple but elegant and also very service-oriented feature for our customers. Due to the copyright that the producer of the video have on YouTube, we're not allowed to edit the video. Some of those videos are quite long. There are actually some highlights in them, but they can be hidden away several minutes into the video. So we're not allowed to edit. The YouTube forbid us to do that. But what we came up with was adding small text about where are the highlights, and they're kind of clickable. So in that way, we do not violate any copyright rules, but actually the reader can edit the video by themselves. So this is an example from the volcano eruption in Japan at the end of September. So this is taken by a cell phone by some Japanese tourists. So it's really elegant. I mean, it's not a high quality video, but you see something within the ash cloud seeing his cell phone getting burned by that. So really a great documentary. So we put in these marks. After 22 seconds, you see the ash cloud get closer, and at 51 seconds, you see the tourists run away. So we put in these marks on all videos, and it works quite well, actually. So I think it's a simple way where journalism can add value, where you can actually curate, so you can select and refine content, even though it's public accessible. We will invest much more into video, and I talked to my colleagues at PopSci in New York on Tuesday, and we're probably going to do some original programming together. But we see this is a way actually also to get a piece of the pie. So this is our attempt to try to see if we can be a news organization. Come up with a newsletter. We have a highly digital society, so we have the email addresses for most of our readers. So there's a kind of a double thing here. By making a pure editorial newsletter, we do not need to have the permission from the readers to send them anything. If we want to include advertising, we need to have their permission. But in this way, we can just send them to anybody we have an email address for. And we want to make sure that everybody over time will recognize us as being a news organization as well. So this is what we emphasize here. So the nyheder is simply means news. And at the moment, it's a weekly newsletter. We try to put a little bit of a graphic design in here in order to give it a little bit of a magazine feeling and not the normal email newsletter feeling. And I think the first research we had for the readers seems to respond very good to this. And we have, on average, a quite high opening rates. So we think we can expand on that further. And again, I think this is a tribute actually to magazines across research for all our brands. The one thing that the readers ask for is a searchable archive of our old magazines. I think newspapers do it as well, but it's really yesterday's news. For us, a lot of these articles are still relevant and they're still a good piece of work. So they simply last longer than a newspaper article. So we made it in a way where you can skim with a cover flow that people know from iTunes. You can search. You can search for topic. You can go back, and at the end you get some PDFs you can read on the screen. And again, it's for subscribers, and there's small reviews of each article. So it's been a big work to actually go back and tag all these articles and make those small intro pieces of text to them, but it seems to work very well, and you can see that people spent almost double the amount of time on this page. So now we have the programming in order. We will expand this to all our brands. Another important challenge for all publishers is to figure out what to do with the smartphone, and this is kind of our second attempt. We had a great success in 2012 where we were able to create a game together with a third-party entrepreneur where we had for 88 months the most downloaded and played game in Scandinavia. But on the cell phone, nothing lasts forever. So it's still there, but it's not the #1 in the App Store anymore. But we want to figure out, and I think that's a key thing, that these days you both have to look at the channel and where people are. I mean, previously we just need to design the magazine, and we knew people were consuming it when they commute or when they were relaxing back at their home. So we kind of didn't have to really think about the user situation. Now everybody who commutes or wait at the supermarket know that people are impatient. They want to do something. Sorry, on the smartphone. Most of the time, it goes to Facebook. So our rationale is to say we have to figure out, we can come up with a relevant offer that can grab people's attention in those boring situations that they hate. Instead of looking for news once again on Facebook and nothing new seems to have been occurred or nothing new relevant seems to have occurred, maybe we could have a bit of attention. So this is what we came up with. So it's what we call the Daily Brainy. So you got this screen. Every picture is a small quiz, and then you get like 4 choices. And when you click, there will be a clock running here. So the faster you answer, the more points you get. And afterwards, you can have some background information. So it's not just a quiz, it's a way of getting information. And since it's an online service, actually, you can compete. Are you the highest score of the day, or you're really low on score? So it looks like an app, but it's actually HTML, which means we don't have to care about Android, iOS, and so on. And again, it's based on that the readers of Science Illustrated, they are curious people, and for them, their passion is trivia, it's fun facts, and so on. So we said, can we build something up on that knowledge? Can we find a way to give them small bits and pieces of information and put a little bit of gamification into it? And this is what we've done. And I think we have to come up with more mobile solutions, but we have to put them in a context about the situation of the consumer. Okay. I think we all in the industry had high hopes in the fall of 2009 for the tablet. I had the pleasure of being part of Bonniers' team trying to figure it out, and spent a lot of time in Stockholm and New York together with a team of PopSci. And our big moment was when Steve Jobs held PopSci up at the beginning, but I don't think that was kind of the glory moment. The industry was probably so challenged at that time, so everybody just hoped for that kind of silver bullet. But I think the general knowledge today is that no such silver bullet does not exist. So more and more it's about experimenting, figure out what's relevant title by title, and then there will be solutions. But this one simple solution simply does not exist. And we have about 8 to 10 subscribers of the subscribers looking into the replica of our magazine, and I think it's a fine way to have a supplement to the magazine you can use when you're traveling or at home. And it's also worth to add that that again the tablet might be just a piece of technology that didn't last that long. Research shows that people don't use the tablets that much anymore. They stay at the living room and use them for the second screen when you watch television. So it's actually the smartphone that will be the screen you need to focus on, not the tablet. That is at least my belief. Okay. Then I would like to touch upon some really hidden key success factors. They are simple to put on a slide, but I have to say they are really difficult to practice in the real world. It's so obvious that you need to do this, but I can say I have a lot of frustrating emails sent back to Copenhagen in these last few days. Our login has some troubles with trying to figure it out. We have a lot of data systems that need to work together. Some system manage the printed subscription information, other has our the website, the digital information about our customers, what they do there. So we have to combine all that. Do they actually have the rights to access our sites? We have, again, knowledge about age, sex, and what kind of titles they have bought from us over the years. And of course, we want to have an easy way of doing payment on the net so people can order from us. Again, it's a big advantage to have the trust that a billing relation is. I think we have to investigate a lot into this and really fix it so it becomes a non-issue, but it's not easy. One of the biggest European publishers spent about 5 years to getting this done, and now they can really harvest from it. So it's crucial. So you can come up with all the best creative ideas, but if you can't fix this, it will never work for you. Okay, so this one is not really up here for you to see it. It's just, again, to mention a little bit about the complex world that we're entering. So it's much more planning. It's now, again, a combination of news and features. It used to be almost features only. Now we have to figure out how we coordinate on multi-platform publications. And we really have to figure out how we create content and how we edit it for the various platforms. We will probably do more of this stuff on the web. Sometimes we find that a lot of our articles, for instance, the History magazine, tell small slices of what happened in the First World War I. But often when people go to the net, they want the basic facts. When did the war started? Who did the fighting? When did it end? But this is not what we add in the magazine article. So we have to be more careful when we actually produce a material that we add this kind of Wikipedia information as well that will work so well on the net and will be easy to optimize for the search engines. And there's also one important thing that the people we have who are responsible for the website, they can actually improve the content after publication. And that's a big change for us. I mean, when you leave a magazine to the printer, you can't do anything more about it. But if an article hits or some content hits on the web, you can improve number of links, you can add more content and so on. And if it doesn't work, you pull it back from the front page. So we have to realize that the editorial material has a life after publication on the web, and a lot of the value is created by actually monitoring that carefully and improve it along the way. And we also got a lot of information actually about what the readers like from the web, and that has to go back to the magazine and the web to improve the editing. And the good thing is that the journalists love it. They don't see it as a way of restricting their creativity. They see it as a way of having more insight that they can use to improve the work, and that's great. But it is complex, and you are there to help us figure it out, I hope. We're not a customer, but okay. Let me go back to print. Because even though that we want to figure out how to be relevant on the digital things, we also want to make sure that we really care about our print, because it's still there. From there we own the money. We can do a lot of things, and I think magazines actually do the best job. I'll get back to this. So this is again from the Science Illustrated, and we want to have a lot of entry points and touch points for readers, and we wanted to connect both emotional and on a kind of intellectual level. So we want to have this story about, the headline says the world's largest ship, and it's an oil rig that Shell is about to build. So how can we make this spread? So the graphic designer actually had got this Photoshop illustration from Shell. But Shell probably made it up for the investors. So it was a ship in calm waters, but actually in the real world it will be situated or located in an area with a lot of storms going around. So we had to got the permission to actually put it into more dramatic waves and have a little bit of thunder and lightning there to make it more appealing. And then we want to have a lot of facts there to get it easy to again give people some information to take out of it. This is another example which I think again is a good story. It tells the story about that fear can be inherited. I mean, that was new knowledge for me, but actually if the mother or the father have anxiety they can actually give it to their kids, which is kind of scary. So again here, to engage the reader, we set up this photo composition, which I think kind of tells the story a bit, but we do also want to tell people that there are facts in here. So we have this small illustration about the 3 tools of the body, explaining some of the biology about it. And we use the advantage of print that you actually turn the pages. That's a great feature of magazine. You can turn the pages, make it to like a movie you play by yourself. So there's a small story starting up here, the first generation, and then it continues on the spreads coming afterwards. So we want to edit in a way so it's easy for both the skimmers, so they can get facts really fast, but we also want to make sure that if you're getting interested in the article, you can dig deeper into it. So there's a lot of things you can do on the magazine. I think that's important for us that we care as much about our printed magazine as we do about the digital, even though we have to figure out a lot of things about the digital things. Okay. This is from a European perspective as well, and I think it's interesting to know that print will still dominate in 2018. I have to say this might be a little bit of wishful thinking. I do believe that this is a kind of distribution. So this was the revenue in the European Union in 2013, and it's expected to go down with 1 billion euros in the next 5 years. I fear that it will go down a little bit more, but at least it demonstrates that we have to care about our print. So these revenues still comes from the printed part. But you can also see that most publishers believe that they have to figure out, you have to figure out ways to come up with paywalls. I'm not sure that everybody thinks that I figured out how to do it. I think that just they realize that they need to figure out how they can have some kind of payment for digital content. Otherwise, they will be in big trouble. So this is kind of answering a little bit Samir's question, how to enter into the digital area without forgetting print. We simply cannot afford to forget print because it will still be core of our business. This is a small upcoming magazine. It's where I had the pleasure of reading the opening piece. It's a magazine that I prepared for the new members of the European Parliament. It will be published in a month. And again, the message is that I believe strongly that magazine is the best way, the best printed media that exists. When it comes to the newspaper has the disadvantage that it's a slow way to get the news to the customer. When it comes to books, you can actually have the exact same experience on a tablet. But the way we can present content in a magazine way cannot be overdone, be done better by any printed media. We have the luxury of better quality paper. We have better printing. We have better colors. We have, through decades, been used to tell our stories in a combination of text, photos, illustration, and combine it into an integrated communication. Newspaper people talk a lot about this, but they do not do it. It's in our soul and our DNA that we can combine these elements to make integrated combination. I think we saw some great example this morning, and hopefully some of mine touched that point as well. And I think this is a really very careful, and we take this this kind of knowledge very carefully and continue to work around that. I would also like to add that this way of editing, we can communicate with more in-depth than any other way of doing media. This combination of print, text, and illustration is such a strong tool. Mm-hmm. This is an American guy, and I will end up with a quote from him. And it helps always when you have a message to phrase it very well. And I think he did this, and it's not especially for our industry, but I think the challenges are the same for us as everybody else. So what he said is that the challenge will be to marry radical innovation with disciplined execution, to merge efficiency of a Toyota production line with the radical innovations of Silicon Valley, to blend diligence and with curiosity. To be a gray-haired revolutionary, a company must be systematic and spontaneous, highly focused and opportunistic, brutally efficient and wild imagination. Talking about a complex industry. Thank you.
Thanks, that's great. We have time for one question before we take a break.
Yeah, my question is, on your two items that you put up there, the newsletter and then quizzes.
Yeah.
Is there any advertising or sponsorship revenue associated with those?
Not so far. The newsletter, we're not allowed to do that. Then we have to seek for the permission. So we actually take benefit from making a pure editorial product. And again, we got such a high revenue from the paying subscribers that kind of covered. But hopefully over the years there will be more advertising content as well. So we hope a lot for the RTB. Mm-hmm.
I really said one question, but I'll make that too.
Oh, you're so nice.
Hey, how can I not please my sponsors?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Can we go back to the discussion of the Golden Archive for a second?
Yeah, yeah.
What sort of demand
It's difficult again. It's for subscribers only. So a lot of the people who are not subscribers, they will not have access to the archive. For the non-subscribers, actually the main features of the website is to turn them into subscribers. And the website has turned out to be our most profitable challenge for new subscribers. I think the guy from Roli touched upon that. So we get about 20% of our new subscribers coming in from our own website, but we got about 45% of the profit coming from those channels. So that's very important. So the archive is restricted for the for the subscribers only. And my guess would be that it's at the moment where it's relatively new, it's the most sort of after feature. Yeah.
Thank you. And you will have a chance during the break to, but